Hello, hello. I'm not sure why I thought 7 o'clock was going to be a great time to do my 5 on a Friday. It's great for all of you people who are watching because, I don't know, hopefully you're sitting down with a beverage and your children are, I don't know, if you're really lucky they're in bed if they're little. I was thinking, I think it might be better if I did it a bit later because that would suit people better. Just really suit me better. Didn't really think about the logistics of it. So the irony is that my own children are currently watching a screen while I talk about the importance of reading. Anyway, that's fine. We organised it. Had one of those afternoons. I've had one of those weeks actually. It's just been sort of completely ridiculous. I don't know why I bother saying that every week because all of my weeks are ridiculous. But anyway, today I've got 5 books that I think you'll really enjoy if you've got readers in that kind of middle to upper primary age group and even into lower secondary for some of them. They're 5 books that I have read, some of them last year or even the year before, and the first one I'm going to talk about is one that I've just read. The first one I'm going to talk about is The Pesky Kids by R.A. Spratt. It's actually a series and there's 2 in the series so far. This is the second one. I have my own pesky kid. My youngest has gone and hidden the first one from me so that I couldn't take it and show everybody. So I can't show you the first one. Anyway, the first one has got a cockroach on the top. In the title, I think it is, but they're a fabulous series. They're the new series by R.A. Spratt, who is the genius behind Friday Barnes and Nanny Piggins, and my kids cannot get enough of R.A. Spratt. She's in fact coming to our school in a few weeks, and the girls have seen her live before, and last time they saw her, she was throwing things at the audience, so she's really got to one-up that because they were pretty impressed with how kind of crazy and cool she was. So if you're watching R.A. Spratt, no pressure, but you've got to top that. So The Pesky Kids is her new series, and I've actually written some notes this week. I know, so organised. It's about 3 siblings who squabble all of the time, and I love that premise because I spent half of my life separating my 2 children, and I would love them not to squabble, but they just squabble. So the premise of The Pesky Kids is that they're 3 siblings and they squabble. In the first book, in the first series, in the first chapter, they kind of find out that their mum is actually a secret agent and she's kind of whisked off and disappears. And they don't know where she is. And they're shipped out by another very unusual lady to live with their father, who they don't know at all and they've never lived with, and they have to go and spend time in a new town. And they end up, Joe, Finn and April, which are their names, end up solving the mystery of the cockroach catastrophes that's rocking their new hometown of Currawong. It's just a really great from about grade 2 or 3 series right up to grade 5 or 6. It's just a really great rollicking adventure. Now, R.A. Spratt is a former script writer, and that really comes through in all of her series, but particularly in this one, which is so fast-paced, so full of like James Bond type maneuvers and so forth right from the first chapter. It's just really, really fast-paced. It's clever. The mystery's good. The humour is spot on. R.A. Spratt does humour just so well. I think humour's really hard to get right, and she does it exceptionally well, which I'm sure is why she's so successful. She's just really nailed humour and mystery and adventure. So I absolutely love this series. Can't recommend them highly enough. New one by R.A. Spratt. Just finished this. This is on a bit of a weird angle, and now the whole thing's going to fall. Is that a bit? Am I straighter now? Thank you. Yeah, my top is from Jericho Road, which is a Brisbane designer. I have gone a little bit nuts buying Jericho Road stuff lately on the premise that my book is launching soon and I'm definitely going to need some new clothes to wear to different book events. So that's been my excuse, but thank you. I love this top too. And look, I got little earrings. See, I got little earrings that are kind of matchy, same pink, from Ruby Olive, and I got this bracelet as well because, you know, I needed to accessorize the whole situation. Anyway, next book. So the next books that I want to talk about are 2 separate books, but they're by the same author. Alison Rushby is a Brisbane lady. Her mum is the author Pamela Rushby. And a couple of years ago, what would it have been? In 2017, I think maybe, The Turnkey came out. Look at that gorgeous cover. I'll show you the other one I'm going to talk about now because look at those covers together. How beautiful are they together? They're so giftable, and I just love that shade of purple. I always mean to look up who's the designer on these books because I think they've really nailed it. I wrote notes, as I said, and I made them a little bit too big. Anyway, The Turnkey I read a couple of years ago, and it's gone on to win quite a few awards. It won the Best Children's Crime Novel in the Davitt Awards in 2018, and it was shortlisted for the Speech Pathology Awards in 2017. It's about a young girl called Flossie Birdwhistle, and she is the turnkey at London's Highgate Cemetery. So a turnkey is a ghost who makes sure that buried souls stay at rest and are comfortable and feeling, calm, so they don't terrify the rest of us. I'll say at this point that it took me a long time to get through this book because I'm absolutely terrified of anything supernatural, like have been since I was a kid. This book is aimed at 9 and 10-year-olds. It still scared me. But it's not going to scare anybody else. It's just actually me. I don't know what's wrong with me. It's set in London. It's set in World War II, and there's a mystery to be solved, and Flossie helps this, I think it's a young boy. She helps a young, army officer, German soldier who's carrying a mysterious object that seems to exist in both the living and the spirit worlds. That's right. And it's just fantastic. I so enjoyed this one in the end after I got over the fact that it was slightly about ghosts. She does a really good job, a fabulous job, of bringing that whole sense of being in a London cemetery. I was going to say to life, but you don't really want the cemetery to come to life, although it does kind of. But she does a really good job of placing you there. So I clearly live in Brisbane. Alison Rushby, the author, also lives in Brisbane, and yet she's just done this fabulous job of being able to place you in London in World War II. It's astonishingly good descriptive writing. The other thing I really like is there is not, oh my gosh, low battery. There's not a huge, now I've gone all dark, haven't I? Am I still dark? Oh my gosh, this always happens to me. What is wrong with me and my battery? Oh, am I still dark? I'm still dark, aren't I? There I am. So what I love about Alison Rushby's writing, even though it's fairly dark-ish or scary-ish themes, because she's writing for that 9-10-year-old bracket, she always pulls it back, so it doesn't ever get scary. It's completely and utterly age-appropriate. She takes the reader just to where you might be going to get scared, and then she stops and she pulls it back. And that's a sign, I think, of a really good writer for middle-grade fiction, someone who can take it, push it as far as a kid can take, but then knows when to pull it back. You wouldn't want to give, I think, a 9 or 10-year-old or a middle grade reader a scary ghost novel, but Alison Rushby does just a masterful job of pulling it back before it gets too scary. Now, the second one, and it's not a series, but it's just, they go beautifully together. I suppose you could call them companion novels. This one is also set in London. This one's set in Cambridge, and it's about a young girl called Imogen? Yeah, Immy, who has moved from Australia with her parents to, her mum is a neurosurgeon. No, she's not. She's not a neurosurgeon. She's a cardiac surgeon. And she's got a year's job doing some research working in London in a cardiac ward. And her dad is a GP. Her dad had quite a traumatic incident at work in Australia and has been on leave and has quite severe depression to the point that he is on medication for his depression. And depression and I guess mental illness and that sense of, just sadness in some ways does run through, it's a theme running through the book, but it's dealt with absolutely beautifully. Again, completely age appropriate, just really beautifully done. So this mum and dad and their daughter Imogen moved to Cambridge, and the first thing they have to do is rent a house. And they really want to live somewhere that, is typically English, and they find this gorgeous cottage, but the real estate agent doesn't want to rent it to them. And they uncover the secret of this cottage. There's this mulberry tree in the backyard, and history says that it has taken 2 girls on the eve of their 11th birthday. So it's got this kind of spooky theme running through it, that there's potentially a mulberry tree that is taking girls, and it's just beautiful. So it's a bit mysterious. Yeah, it's just absolutely beautiful. Oh, Anna, thank you. Thank you. My screen is okay for you. It doesn't look all right from my end. What I really, really like about this book is, again, she takes it right to the edge, but then she brings it back. Again, the descriptions of England are superb. I just felt like I was there. I've been to Cambridge. It felt exactly like I was there. Just beautiful. Absolutely loved it. It's got such an English feel to it. And I read somewhere, I don't know where it was ages ago I read this, that Alison Rushby's mother read her a lot of old English literature growing up, and I can really see the influence of that in her writing. It's got a really old English feel to it, but with a modern sensibility as well. Now, I read this book last year with my mother-daughter book club, and I've been rereading it at the moment to my 10-year-old, because I've been thinking about doing it again for my mother-daughter book club this year, and I was just sort of trying it out on her first. It's been really funny because she's actually turning 11 in about 3 weeks. So we've been reading this book about girls that get swallowed by a mulberry tree outside their bedroom window on the eve they turn 11. And guess what? She's got a mulberry tree outside her bedroom window. It looks nothing like the terrifying mulberry tree in this book. It's actually quite beautiful, my mulberry tree, but we've been reading it and I keep going, are you scared? Are you okay with this? She's like, yeah, it's fine. I love it. It's so good. But it's just been hilarious that we are reading this book about girls being taken on the eve of their 11th birthday. And the other thing was, I didn't really think it was suitable for my 7-year-old, so I was putting her to bed, reading her something first, and then going and reading to the nearly 11-year-old. And the second night I was reading it, I heard this little voice say, "That was a good cliffhanger." And she was sitting outside the room listening. It was so funny. She'd been learning about cliffhangers at the end of year 1 last year, and she's obsessed with cliffhangers. And actually, she was completely right. There is really good cliffhangers at the end of each of the chapters. You just want to keep on reading. The other night, I intended only reading a couple of pages to Pudster, and I ended up reading for about an hour. I was really into it. In the end, she said, "I'm really tired. I have to go to sleep." This is her copy of it. She wanted me to use the library copy, but that's her copy. And I just also wanted to show you, I don't know if you can see it, these little bookmarks were given to us by a really close family friend of ours, and they say, "Good night, sleep tight, don't give up without a fight." And they've got little boxing gloves on them, because Dan used to do a lot of martial arts, and he used to say to the girls every night after he finished reading to them, "Good night, sleep tight, don't give up without a fight." So they've both got a really beautiful bookmark. Now, the next book I want to talk about is also by an Alison. This one is by Alison Tate. Now, I can't... Is that in this? Oh, man, this screen drives me mad. A.L. Tate, as she is known in her children's literature. She is Alison Tate, and Alison Rushby, Alison Tate and I are moderators of the Your Kids Next Read Facebook group, and if you're not in that group, I'd highly recommend you be in it. This one is fantastic. It's her latest series. She's also the author of the Mapmaker Chronicles, which I highly recommend. Book of Secrets is the first one in her Ataban Cipher series. We also did this one for Mother-Daughter Book Club last year. Brilliant. It's set in medieval Europe, and it's about a young guy called Gabe who was left as a foundling, a baby, on the step of a monastery, and he grows up in this monastery, and his mentor is brother I was going to say Brother Gabriel, but that can't be right. His mentor is brother somebody or other. Name I can't remember. And the book starts with Gabe finding his mentor on death's door, having been attacked, and he gives Gabe this book and says, "Do not let anybody get it." And there begins this sort of unbelievable adventure and turn of events and change of life for Gabe, where he has to leave the only world he has ever known and go out and protect this book, which is some sort of secret code that he doesn't at the time understand. He meets a group of local, I guess you'd say, ruffians, one of whom is called Mary, a girl, and peasants and bandits, and there's monks and there's royalty in the book, and he ends up having to do a bit of a Robin Hood thing, where they sort of steal from the rich to give to the poor and rah rah rah. It's a fantastic fantasy novel. I just so enjoyed it. It's an incredible adventure. It's got some fantastic characters in it, male and female characters. They're just brilliant. It talks about class structure. It talks about the the damage of gender stereotypes and kindness and loyalty. It's such a great series. So enjoyed it. Yes, Jazzy, hello. The Book of Secrets does rock indeed. Jazzy from Jazzy's Bookshelf has just joined us. It's lovely to see you there, Jazzy. And Jazzy is a beta reader for Alison's next book. Jazzy, is it the third one in this series, or is it a totally new series that you're reading? Or are you even allowed to say that? I don't know, maybe you're not. Brilliant book. I can't recommend the Book of Secrets and the whole Adaban Cypher series enough. Now, if you are in your kids' next read, and if you're not in your kids' next read, then go on over and join it now. You can enter a competition this weekend to win copies of the American editions of the Book of Secrets and the Book of Answers. And also, I think it's the Turnkey you can win in book and audio form. So Alison Tate and Alison Rushby and I are running a competition over there, or two competitions, I suppose, to win some of their books in different formats. So do go over and join Your Kids Next Read. It's a great place to hang out. Happiest place on the internet as far as I'm concerned. Oh, as well as that, is anyone else in that Chat 10 Look 3? Is that what it is? The Annabelle Crabb and Lee Sales Facebook group from their podcast. I just love it. It's so nice. Jazzy, I am beta reading Alison's new series. Okay. So Jazzy is a beta reader, which means a first reader for Alison Tate's new series. That is very exciting. I was not offered that opportunity, just saying. But she probably wants young people, unlike 42, nearly 43-year-old librarians. I'm so depressed about my age. Anyway, the final book I want to talk about is one that I have talked about before on my blog many times. It's The War That Saved My Life, and Alison Tate has just joined us. Well, Alison Tate, there's no point in you joining now because I just finished talking about you and saying how great you were. But I suppose you could rewind later and watch, but Alison Tate has just joined us. But I've moved on, Al, I've moved on. So the final book I'm talking about is The War That Saved My Life. It also has a sequel, mental blank. Anyway, it's brilliant. It's won the Newbery, it's won the Schneider Family Book Award, it won the Western Australian Younger Readers Book Awards. It's another book set in World War II. It's just gorgeous. It's about a 9-year-old Ada who has grown up in this one-room flat, and her mother has never let her out of the flat because she's so ashamed of Ada. Ada has a club foot, and her mother's incredibly humiliated by this twisted foot, so she hides her away. The war begins in their town, and her little brother Jamie is being shipped off to safety in London, and Ada sneaks along with him. They end up, sort of starts a new adventure for them. They end up living with a really beautiful woman called Susan, who absolutely adores these children and really looks after them. And it's sort of the first time in her life Ada has experienced happiness and love. And it's just really beautiful. She finds it quite hard to accept love at first, and she finds it really tricky. It's got some really complex themes woven throughout it. But again, like I said about the Alison Rushby books, the author pulls it back right before it would get too scary. Now, World War II themed books are incredibly popular in my library and in any library I've ever worked in for about the years 6, 7, 8 age group. And I remember at about that age reading all of the Diary of Anne Frank books quite obsessively. And I was just talking to my nearly 11-year-old this afternoon. She was talking about Japanese women having their feet bound historically. And I remember I was telling her about how I used to quite obsessively read books about that sort of thing as well. So I think you're in that age where you're trying to find out about the world and historical events because you're trying to make sense of the world now, and you're ready for some more mature themes, but from the safety of your bedroom. So I think that's why these sorts of books are so incredibly popular. So just to recap, I've talked about the Pesky Kids series, I've talked about the Turnkey, I've talked about the Mulberry Tree, I have talked about the Book of Secrets, which is the first one in the Adaban Cypher series, and I've talked about The War That Saved My Life. As I said, Alison Rushby and Alison Tate are running a giveaway over in Your Kids Next Read. It finishes on Sunday, so if you'd like to win some books, you can go over there and enter that. It's super easy to enter. You just have to be a member of Your Kids Next Read and answer one of our questions. I just got some new books in the mail this afternoon as well. I don't even know if I'm allowed to show them because they're not out yet. How pretty is that? And look, the new Felice Arena, who I think I talked about him last week with his Sporty Kids series. I just love them. And for anyone that is a teacher that might be watching or works in a school library, for some of the books that I've talked about tonight, I just wanted to mention that you can get teacher's notes for them. So a lot of books now come with teacher's notes. You can also use them at home for just a bit of extension work. You can use them if you have a book club with your kids. The War That Saved My Life ones are by Text Publishing and they're excellent. These ones on the Book of Secrets are astonishing, and I used them when I was doing this book with my grade 6 book club last year. And when I first read through them, I thought, oh, these are amazing teacher's notes. Amazing. And I didn't look who wrote them and didn't look at who wrote them until I finished reading them, but I knew it was either Joy Lawn or Christina Wheeler or Robin Sheehan Bright that had written them, because they write the best teacher's notes in the country, and it was Robin Sheehan Bright. So they are excellent teacher's notes. There's these ones, they're even beautifully produced. Hachette's done a great job of them, and they've got lots of worksheets, there's lots of resources at the end. They're fantastic teacher's notes. I mean, hello, whole unit of work right there. Yeah, Alison, they are really, really good. Amazing that you got Robin Sheehan Bright to do them. I don't know if you've met her before, but she's an astonishing woman. I'm completely in awe of her and I adore her. And then Steve from Walker Books also does excellent teacher's notes. I love Steve from Walker Books. We were just talking on email this afternoon. He's an absolutely delightful guy, and he does stacks of the classroom ideas for Walker Books, and he's done some great ones for The Mulberry Tree by Alison Rushby. So again, they're just perfect for teachers, they're perfect for librarians that might be running a book group, they're perfect if you're running a book club with your own kids at home. I absolutely love them. Well worth searching for teacher's notes on any book that you read with your kids. All right, that's about me done for the night. For those of you that just joined me, I was saying the irony is that I am talking about books and I've had to lock my children into a room with a screen to make them leave me alone while I talk to you about reading to your children. I didn't really think about the logistics of me doing this at 7 o'clock at night. Anyway, that's fine. Also, would you just look at my hair? It is quite spectacular, is it not? I am joking. Quite a few people on Instagram, or one particular lady always says, your fringe is always so on point. How do you make it like that? Yeah, on point, on point. This is spectacular. I am loving life. That is 90% dry shampoo. There is not a lot of hair left on my head. That is just dry shampoo. It's sort of moldable. It's a bit like Play-Doh at the moment. I can just mold it. It's been one of those weeks. Anyway, have a great weekend. I've got another busy one, but I'm looking forward to it. See you later.